Hello everybody, good evening. It is Tuesday, November the, Give me a clue. 5th, November the 5th, Election Day. Sorry, I know that just killed the mood, right? Okay, so tonight we have got something very different to talk about, very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to talk to you about government surplus auctions and tell you what they are. I'm sorry for those of you who are in the UK. I don't think you have these things. Maybe you do, but yeah, it'd still be interesting. And we'll be getting to that in just a second. But first, Thursday, we're going to be talking about microscopes. It occurred to me that I had never done a basic overview of microscopes for macro photographers. The kind of equipment you want to be looking for, what you need, what you don't need, what you can expect to pay for it, what features you want, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to be doing that on Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Macro Talk 2 right here on YouTube. On Friday, I have another road trip planned. Does anybody live in Iowa City and would like to go to lunch? Yeah. That's where I'll be, but it's close enough for me to just drive over during the day. I'm driving over to get a microscope. That's Thursday. From an auction, that's today. Yeah, now you know where these ideas came from. If you have an idea for a live stream, something you want to talk about, please let me know, like in the chat now. Anytime, really, but always looking for ideas. I was pinning some beetles today, and I discovered, I had an idea of something that I thought might work, and it did. It's a really cool way to pin difficult beetles, and I'll show you that next week. We'll do a live pinning session. But if you have any bought beetles, dehydrated beetles that you're having trouble with, this will be one you want to watch. It's very successful. I've been using it all day today. Okay, on Saturday we have a Zoom. For those of you who are Patreon supporters of the work I do, thank you very much. And on Saturday we're going to be taking a very close look at this new microscope that I got. We'll go through it and we'll use it to follow on from Thursday's discussion to talk about why I got what I got and what it's got on it and what you might be interested in. And we'll just look at the whole thing up close. Then we're going to talk about setting up a perfect macro studio / lab. All the stuff that you would be in your dream setup. And we'll go through that. We'll also be doing interpretations and introductions if there are any. So that's Saturday's Zoom. The competition is over for October, and the judging is over. The results are in. Congratulations to the winners. I'm not going to give you their names. The video is finished and it is sitting on my hard drive. I didn't have time to upload it because I had to get ready for the live stream, and it takes a little while for things to go through, and I didn't want to miss my live stream. So the second I get through tonight, the moment I get through, I'm going to put the results up. So by the time this video is posted, the competition results video will also be posted. It went a little bit longer than I intended it to because I was trying to rush through it, but it's a really interesting one. I had a great guest judge. Bud was going to judge with me this month, but he had some family stuff come up. But the artist that I've been working with, the sculptor, Lonnie Stewart, I've mentioned him before. Brilliant guy, does sculptures out of bronze as well as oil paintings and other things. He's the consummate artist. He's also a photographer, and he sat in and judged this competition with me, and it was really insightful and very helpful. And I'm very happy with the results of the competition. I think you will be too. We'll be seeing more of Lonnie as time goes by because he and I are working together on a top secret project that I'm not even allowed to tell you is a thing. So I shouldn't have said that. Forget I said that. Moving on, October's competition being over, that means we must be into November. We are. November and December is a combined competition. This one is a completely different set of rules. Everybody can turn in 3 pictures, and it's anything you want, so long as it's a macro picture. That's the only rules. 3 entries, anything you want, and we are going to be getting another guest judge in. This is going to be Lester Lefkowitz, and he is going to be so much fun to judge with, and we'll do that results show live in January for the new year. So there are a couple of requests I have. In addition to sending me any suggestions or recommendations you have for the live streams, I need you to dig through your equipment and see if you have something nice that's still in perfect working order and would make a presentable prize, something you don't need anymore. Can you send it to me? Because I want to get a whole tier of prizes set up for the big wildcard competition. I think it's going to be a blast. I've already got several donations of some really nice brand new stuff, but it would be nice to get some other photography related stuff if you can spare it. If you have something that's sitting around that you're not using, send it in. Somebody will get use out of it. Okay, now let me see. There's a couple of other things. I want to thank Susan out loud and in public for donating the lens that she did this week, the Laowa 90mm macro lens, the 2x. What is it? The Dreamer. I love this lens. Oh, it's right here. This is a fantastic lens. I've actually been borrowing Susan's for some stuff I had to do, some reviews and other things, and I just love that lens. It's so sharp, great fun to use, and it really is. I think Mr. Lee said that it was his favorite lens he's ever designed, so I can see why. It's a wonderful lens. Okay, guys, I think that was everything. Yes, it was. I covered everything. So now it's time to talk about tonight's stuff. And this is a departure for me because we're not really talking about macro photography, but we're talking about something that if you don't know about it, or if you've only heard about it tangentially, it might be worth a closer look. And I'm going to start out by telling you why I now think this is something I want to talk about. I have a friend, his name's Robert Wester. He's in your crowd right now, rubbing shoulders with you. And Robert, I don't know how he found out about these things, but Robert has been my mentor when it comes to using these government surplus auctions. And he told me about them, and at first I was a bit suspicious of them, and I also didn't really understand how they worked. And I didn't have the time to research them. So for various reasons, I didn't get really caught up in the process. But I did learn about it as I went along. And then a couple of weeks ago, Robert called me and said, there's a piece of equipment in an auction near you that you might be interested in, you might want to look at. It's a camera stand, the kind that product photographers use, and it's ridiculously expensive. It's a Cambo. It's from Holland. It weighs several hundred pounds, and it's a big rigid structure that holds a medium format camera usually, and it's infinitely flexible as to where you can position the camera, and it's rock solid. I've always wanted one of those. I probably don't need it. I've got a tripod. I've got several tripods. Probably don't need it, but boy, I wanted it, and they cost about $4,500. In the auction that I was in, I won the device for a little over $100. And when I went to pick it up, I drove a few hours to La Crosse, Wisconsin, where Michelle is from, and picked it up. Well, that's not actually strictly true. I couldn't pick it up because it was too heavy. I separated it into parts and loaded it in my car and drove it home. It took a couple of hours at the weekend to strip it down to nuts and bolts, clean everything, replace any hardware that was worn, replace a cable that held the counterweight, put it all back together, and now I have basically a brand new Cambo camera stand. It looks absolutely like it just rolled out of the showroom. It has wheels on the base so that you can lock it in position, and it's just beautiful. $100 and maybe $20 worth of parts to replace. The following week, Robert called and said he knows I've been looking for a microscope for 3 years and I haven't found one, mainly because I haven't had time to follow up on the tips that I've been given, but this one I did follow up on, and I bought a Nikon microscope this last week. It's a AWPhot 200. It sells for anywhere from $3,000 for parts to $8,000 in fully working order on eBay. You can buy a similar microscope new for $20,000, or you could buy it on a government auction if you get lucky for $211, which is what I got it for, and that's what I'm picking up on Friday. So these are not rare occurrences. I want to tell you what these auctions are, how you use them, what you've got to watch out for, some of the drawbacks of using them, and just some guides on best practices, really. I am not a newcomer to this. I have been doing this for several years now. I am a newcomer to purchasing big items, but it's something that if I had taken seriously early on, I could have really saved a lot of money, because there's a lot of stuff related to photography that comes through these auctions, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me tell you what they are first. Government surplus auctions are when a government agency, and it could be the federal government or a state government, or it could be a city in your area, when they have equipment, say tools, for example, that are no longer state of the art, and they want to replace them with brand new stuff, because they can do that because you'll get paying your taxes for that. They can often end up with decommissioned equipment that is barely used at all. Sometimes it's terribly used, sometimes it's absolute junk, but sometimes it's still in the box. Sometimes it's never been turned on or plugged in, or a nail's never been hammered with it. And they need to get rid of it, because for the government it's just an expense to sit it in a warehouse. They don't want it in a warehouse. They want rid of it, and their main focus is on just getting rid of the stuff. This is different than most private auctions, where their focus is getting the most money they can for the equipment or the products that they have to sell. Now, with the government auctions, you just never know what's going to show up in one, and it takes work, and I'll tell you what that work involves in a little bit. But the opportunity to find things that are absurdly underpriced is very real. I have a feeling it's not going to stay that way, because I think people are starting to clue into this. But when you think about the fact that these organizations that are getting rid of all their equipment are not just strictly government agencies. Sometimes it's government contractors that, say, build a lab for a particular purpose, and at the end of that purpose they have a room full of lab equipment, microscopes, centrifuges, refrigerators, lab tables. They just want to get rid of it all, so that they can spend more money on the next lab they build. They don't save this stuff, they don't refurbish it, they just get rid of it. When you can catch one of these liquidations, you stand a chance of really getting into some incredible bargains. And there are so many of them, and they are everywhere in every state. I'll show you how you find them. But it's, like I said, it's not just big organizations. It's sometimes tiny little towns the fire department will be getting rid of a bunch of firefighting equipment. God knows what you would do with used firefighting equipment, but if you wanted some, that would be where you'd go to buy it. And every conceivable part of the government that ends up closing down an office is going to put their stuff through these auctions. I'm going to show you tonight where you can find them and how to use them and how to protect yourself from making expensive mistakes. So the types of equipment. Now, high-end professional cameras, lenses, equipment like that, even high-end tripods and studio equipment, you aren't going to find. Why not? Because the government doesn't use that. What the government, typically police departments and other agencies like that, may buy loads of cameras and end up liquidating a lot of them, but they're usually not the high-end stuff, the luxury stuff. I've never seen any medium format equipment or any relatively new full-frame cameras. Old Canon full frames you see a lot, but I wouldn't go to these sites looking, though you would certainly keep your eyes open for it. You don't expect to find the really high-end stuff. But what you will find, and what I think is where the bargains are the best, is you'll find things like camera stands or tripods or other studio equipment, lighting setups, oftentimes suitcases full of lighting setups that they don't even look in the suitcase, they just put it as lights and you get the whole suitcase. Sometimes it will be boxes of photography equipment. I bought several of these boxes of old photography equipment from a police department one time and from a city another time, and I ended up with a 55mm Nikon macro lens, the old D one, in perfect condition, don't think it had ever been used, another macro lens, as well as a bunch of flashes, half of which worked, half of which didn't, and loads of other stuff. Very often you'll get these boxes or lots of stuff, and the people who are putting them in lots often don't know what they are, and they'll throw in a Sikonic light meter into a box of rubbish. And you know, a good light meter like a Sikonic will set you back a few $100 for the new ones, and you'll find these things in your box of rubbish. So the more specialized it is, the more niche the equipment that you're looking for, the more likely it'll show up in one of these auctions. The more multi-purpose stuff like high-end cameras and lenses doesn't, because the government doesn't buy them. They buy stuff for specific uses. So lab equipment is another thing that you'll find. If you like, I use lab equipment for lots of stuff. You can get all the glassware and tubing and Bunsen burners and everything you ever wanted to set up your lab. Microscopes are always on the docket because they're relatively expensive. They form a kind of glut on the GSA and government deals websites that I'm going to tell you about. So they're always there. So are electronic microscopes, the kind of, not electron microscopes, though they do show up very commonly. There's always a couple from Europe and a couple from the US as well that are selling electron microscopes, but usually they're the digital microscopes that you wouldn't want anyway. But mixed in there are high-end binocular stereo microscopes as well as compound lab scopes for research. And you can absolutely find them. Cases, those Pelican cases, the things that are just the best for storing and lugging stuff around in for professional photographers, they always have those. Rolling carts for your studio, the kind that costs $500 at the hardware store. Husky, I think they're called, with a wooden top on them. Robert called me about an auction where they had about 50 of them, and they were selling them with a starting bid of $5. So, there are bargains to be had out there. Tools, anything scientific, things like spectrometers, if you ever needed one, a gas chromatographer, lighting equipment, all kinds of good stuff. Power supplies, oscilloscopes. These are the things you'll find. Now, to find these websites, there are several places that you need to go, and I was going to put the URLs in the chat, but I'm going to ask Alistair to put them in if he would. The first is Government Deals, and their website's called GovDeals, GovDeals. GovDeals is one. GSA Auctions, G as in G. SA, government surplus something or other. GSA Auctions is another. Whatever state you're in, if you just type in Wisconsin public auction, that'll get you to the right place. Every state has multiple smaller auctions going on all the time. Most of these are online auctions. I've never been to a live auction, and I don't think I ever want to go to one. This is very different, and if you do it right, it's also painless and easy. But GSA Auctions, Government Deals, and what was the other one? There's one other one that I really like, Public Surplus Auctions. I don't know what their URL is, but it's Public Surplus Auctions. And what I'm going to do is, we're going to look at these sites in just a second. I'm going to take you on there and show you how to navigate each one of them to find what you're looking for. But basically, the way you find what you're looking for is just type in the name of whatever it is and be creative, because the people who are listing these things may not know the correct name for a piece of photographic equipment. So be as general as you can. It's always better to search through a lot of junky lots than it is to miss the thing that you're looking for. Now, we'll get to how you bid in just a second and how you register, but both of these are key. But first of all, you have to find what you're looking for. I do it systematically. About one day a week, if there is something that I need for the studio but I can't afford, once a week I'll go on each of these websites, sometimes at the same time or spread out over a couple of days, and I will just search through the new auctions to see if anything has shown up that would fit the bill for what I'm looking for. Sometimes I find stuff that I would love to have that I don't need, but I usually don't bid on that. But I would if I had the cash. Let me show you just one of these sites so that you can see. While I'm doing this, if somebody out there would be kind enough to put down a piece of equipment or gear that you would like to have in your studio, if you have a studio, preferably something fairly expensive, something that you wouldn't just go to the camera shop to buy, not a roll of film or not a camera bag, something a bigger item, or a tool related thing. If you have other hobbies, put something in there, and we'll search for it on one of these sites just so that I can show you how to do it. I don't want to use something I look for because I know what's on them this week, and that would be cheating. So let me see. Joseph says a 6-digit bench multimeter. How did he know that I was going to ask that? David's spoiling everything by telling everybody the cons already. Is it possible to set up ChatGPT to automatically search auction sites on a schedule? I don't know, but I guarantee you that's what I will be trying tonight. That is a brilliant idea. Well done, Zeno. That's terribly smart. Yeah, let's get to these, because otherwise you're not going to listen to me if you're listening to all of these negative points. They're absolutely right. When you bid on one of these auctions and you win it, if you were to win it, you have to pay for that device or gadget or whatever right there and then. You have 2 days. Some of them give you 4 or 5 days. But you have to pay for it, and there are specific kinds of payment they take. Then you have to go pick it up. And if you just ordered a backloader, whatchamacallit, what do you call those things that move earth around? Bulldozer. You have to go with something to pick it up and put it on your trailer, because they aren't going to help you. They don't pack stuff. They aren't nice to you, though in Wisconsin they were. They don't help you at all. So you have to take your people, take your equipment, take your crane, and load it up and take it home yourself. There are sites, there are businesses that will do that for you. You call them and tell them you're bidding on an item, and they will go to the site, pick it up, wrap it and ship it. But they will oftentimes eat up all the savings that you made from buying the thing in auction. But let me see, has anybody suggested something? A Fluke CRT oscilloscope. Okay, all right, let's take a look. I'm going to get you guys on as soon as I get the right browser open. There it is. So this is public surplus. This is my favorite of them all. It's not strictly a government surplus site, but it's largely one. The home URL is publicsurplus.com, and all you have to do on these sites is type in what you're looking for. And you said a Fluke oscilloscope. Let's just write in oscilloscope and see. Well, okay, we have several of them. A palette of scientific instruments that appears to include an oscilloscope. Oh my God, whatever that is too. Oftentimes you'll find the item you're looking for comes with a whole bunch of stuff you're not looking for. Oh, look at that. What is that? That is a strange looking microscope with a Polaroid camera on it. That might be worth bidding on. There's an old oscilloscope, Tektronix though. It is very common that look at that microscope. Most of the stuff that you're going to find is rubbish or old. Some of it's broken, some of it will need to be serviced or fixed. The point is not that. The point is that some of the stuff you're going to find is pure gold. But you just have to look for it. Pair of oscilloscopes. These are probably all the same. There's another Tektronix. And this is only one site. These are LGs. So we struck out on that one. Did anybody else have a suggestion? Let me see. This is complicated. I need more... let me see. Scanning electron microscope. Okay, I know that this will be fun because I have been looking at these. I actually have a supporter here in this area who wants to buy one for the channel. An electron microscope. I'm being dead serious. All we'd need would be all we'd need would be a power supply and all that. Oh, come on. I know that they have them. Sometimes Polish companies will sell them. Let's go to government deals instead. They often have them. Scanning electron microscope. Well, none of these look like a microscope, but you just have to search. I know they do. I don't know what these things are in the glass jars, but let's go with something a little bit less esoteric. No, on second thoughts, let's go to the other site. GSA auctions. This is a good one. We'll put scanning electron microscope. Tell you what, we'll just look under lab equipment. There are several ways to search for things, but oftentimes, oh, this would be nice. These are for making radioactive isotopes. I don't think you're just allowed to buy them, but yeah. Okay, well, just take my word for it. They usually have electron microscopes for sale. You have no idea if they're going to be any good, or if if you know, you'd need a whole lab to support the thing, obviously. But if you wanted one and you felt like you could, you know, deal with everything you had to do to get it working, then good for you. I mean, you can buy one. Let's just, for the sake of showing you how you go about bidding, let me just search for microscopes. Seeing as this is one that I have done for you know, every week for years. No records. I think this is probably just because I'm doing something wrong because I'm typing too fast. There's a scanning electron microscope. $3,250. It's bid increment $50, and it looks fairly new. Yeah, there you go. Who wants to share it with me? Let's set up a lab and get one. It's got all the, it looks like it's got the high pressure vacuums, the computers, everything you need. So, yeah, you can in fact find scanning electron microscopes on these, and I don't know where the reserve is going to be. The reserve is a price that the seller will not sell it for less than, which you don't know what that is until your bid hits it. And the way the bidding works, let's find something a little cheaper. The important thing is, before you can bid on any of this stuff, look at all these scanning electron microscopes. This one has met its limit, $5,000. Very cool. So if you find, say, a microscope that you want, the first thing you need to do is register with that auction site. If you're not registered with the site, then you cannot bid. And registering is just giving them a name and a number. And you can see that most of the microscopes are not the kind of thing we'd be looking for. They're either rubbish, broken surgical microscopes, or weird special case microscopes like comparison scopes. But every now and again, you'll stumble across a pure gem. Maybe these look like, well, actually up here it looked like a Leica microscope. So, yeah, 3 microscopes, the bidding's $50, it closes in 6 days. Now, if you decided you wanted that, the first thing then you would do is register with the site. This one's government deals. And when you were registered, you would enter into this window the amount that you would be willing to pay for this lot of 3 microscopes. And this ties into something I'm going to give you as a piece of advice in just a minute. Do your research. Learn what this particular microscope is worth on the used market. And if the bidding is higher than that, don't buy it if you can buy it on eBay from a site that will guarantee it. These government sites sell everything as is and where is, which means you have to go and get it, and you buy it in the condition it is in, which means oftentimes it doesn't work, and you have to get some work done on it. But oftentimes it does work, and it may even be close by where you are. But if you look at this and decide, yeah, $50, you know, the Leica microscope alone is worth $300, say, and the others, you know, may be worth nothing. But if you decide you'll spend up to $100, then what you would do is write in $100 here and check auto bid. You must do that. Auto bid will then raise the increment raise the incremental bid against this bidder, and will keep raising it until you are the winning bid. That may be one bid. It may go to $52 and you're the winning bid. It won't bid your $100 unless the bidding gets to $100. Once it goes above $100, it will not obviously bid for you because you have not approved it. So for the microscope that I bought, I was willing to spend $1,000 on it, and I bid $1,000 when the bidding was at 180, I think. It went to 200 even, and that was my bid, and nobody else bid on it. So I got it for 200. The 800 I never spent, so I got back, and I got the microscope plus tax came to, I think, $211. So it's very easy to do, but don't forget don't forget to check the outbid box and check your auto bid box. And check your email when messages come in. I do it through the phone so that they notify me if I've been outbid, and they notify me what the status is. Be very, very careful that you don't bid on two attractive microscopes and forget about one of them and go crazy bidding on the other, because you could end up buying two of them. So be very cautious about what you do. And when I am actively bidding, I keep this site open on my desk so I can follow the progress. Obviously, there are other alerts that you can set up, but the thing to remember is every one of these government auction houses have different rules and different techniques for bidding and setting reminders on their site. You need to learn each of them that you're going to bid on. If you're going to be bidding on any of these, you need to know what the rules are, because the rules can be draconian and they enforce them strictly. For example, if you buy something by mistake, you have bought it by mistake and you need to pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, they will, for a more expensive item, they'll have had you pay a deposit anyway, and they'll just take your money. But you will have to pay for it. They will come after you if you don't, and then they'll ban you from the site. You won't be able to bid again. So if you're going to bid on these, learn the rules and follow them to the letter. Many of them require you actually have an appointment to go and pick up the equipment that you won in auction. My pickup in wherever I'm going on Friday is at 11 o'clock in the morning. If I'm there early, or if I'm there early, I'll have to wait. If I'm there late, I will forfeit the merchandise if they're playing strictly by the rules. So if you decide not to pick it up, you bought it and it's in Las Vegas and you live in New York, then you can pay for it and not pick it up, and the thing goes back into the next auction. I'm sure that happens a lot. But you can get such bargains that if you're willing to jump through these hoops and do all the things they expect you to do, you can really walk away with massive savings. It is a bit of a gamble, it really is. But if you're even remotely handy with whatever it is, I just bought a hand plane, a wood plane, in an auction last week. I don't think for 1 minute it's going to be usable when it arrives. But that's one of my hobbies, is I recondition hand planes. So long as it's got what it says it's got, the original piece of metal and the original blade and all the wooden parts, I'll put it back together and clean it up and I'll make it work. So I don't care about that. But if you can't do or won't do or didn't want to spend the money on doing something like that, be careful, because you might well be buying a piece of equipment that's broken. Understand this though, everything that I've ever bought from one of these sites that was broken, was broken because a fuse had blown or the cord had been broken or pulled out of the thing. It is amazing what they will throw stuff away for. I mean, stuff that you could fix in a minute, like replacing a fuse, and they just throw the whole thing out for next to nothing on an auction for you to put the fuse in. So you can get drastically lower prices than anywhere else, and I mean anywhere else. You will never see prices like this on an eBay. eBay used to be an auction site where everything that you could get some bargains on eBay. Now eBay is just a shop, a fairly high-priced shop where everything costs the same. I mean, a 100 millimeter Nikon lens costs the same in a lens shop or on eBay or anywhere else, because they all price it the same. They're all setting their prices identically. But if you can find a box full of lenses at a government auction, you may find 600 millimeter lenses in there that have never been taken out of the box, and the whole box will cost you $5. You just don't know. So the cost savings, drastically lower prices, and you've got to be patient. You've got to set a price that you're willing to pay for whatever it is you want. Let's see if anybody given an idea. A stereo trinocular polarizing microscope. That's awfully specific. The best way, if you searched for that, you might find it. But if you searched for stereo microscope and looked through them, you will find a trinocular scope that they didn't name it that because the people who were naming the lots just knew it was a microscope, and that was it. You've got to think like that and be willing to search through all the lots to find what you're looking for. That was not a productive search right there. Let me try again. So this is a stereo microscope we're looking for. Some of these sites require you to spell words correctly, and if you have any spelling mistake in your word, they won't show up any items, even though they're in there. Stereo microscope. Fun watching somebody type, isn't it? Hang on. I'm waiting to get some results before I switch screens. Hang on. I'm going to go to one other site. For some reason, I think it's probably because I'm doing this on while I'm online. For some reason, it's not responding very quickly. But I'll try one more thing, and then I'll get back to what I wanted to tell you about. Let's see. Okay, that's nothing. Oh. Okay, all right. So the best attitude to go into this is you need something, and you're going to look for that something, but you're going to also look at what else is there to be found that could be useful to you. A lot of what I have in my studio is stuff that I have repurposed from a sale like this. Most of it has been local, but some of it has been through these bigger websites. Don't be afraid to check out the local sites too, and you can, if you're willing to be patient and dig through boxes of stuff, you'll find some great stuff. I got a very, very expensive tilt shift adapter for a Nikon lens. It's a $400 tilt shift adapter for $10 in a box of photography junk that I paid $10 for. So it's in there. There's stuff is being put in these sales all the time. The more consumer oriented, the less likely it is you'll find it. If you want to find a new toaster, then go to Walmart and you'll get a new toaster for next to nothing. But if you want a toaster that's made of bulletproof steel and has 16 slices of bread, or continuously makes toast or something like that, yeah, they'll have those. So the more esoteric it is, or the more corporate or industrial it is, if you're looking for stuff for a workshop, say a work table or a work surface, all the way up to a CNC machine. They sell CNC machines by the bucket load. They are always selling them because these are bigger companies that are liquidating their assets. The thing is, though, if a metalworking or woodworking company is selling a computer cutting device like that, they're also selling everything in the shop that goes along with it. Drill presses, boxes of tools, boxes of drill bits. And if you don't need them, then yeah, so what? But if they're on your list of stuff that you need, that's when it gets really good. I would avoid electronics unless you work on electronics. There are exceptions. Sometimes you'll see schools that are selling last year's iPads, and they'll have 50 of them. And all you need is an iPad to tether to or something. Then I would certainly buy them because they sell them so cheap. They usually sell them in lots of 5. So you buy 5 laptops or 5 iPads. If that's going to suit your purpose, get it. If you need the most modern, up-to-date computer with all the bells and whistles and a big hard drive, then don't buy one of these surplus ones. It's kind of like gambling. I know nothing about gambling, so do not follow my advice on this. But what I have heard is that you should never gamble unless it's with money that you're perfectly happy to lose. I've never had any of that money. I don't know what that money looks like, but if you are going to bid on something like this, be prepared to waste your money. That's one of the reasons the prices are so low. They're passing the risk on to you, but my experience has been that's a worthwhile risk to take. So more industrial grade stuff than consumer grade stuff is what you'll find. But that doesn't mean you won't find exactly what you're looking for, but a household something or other when you look. There's something good about buying used equipment. When you think about if you don't buy it, you know what's going to happen to it. It's going to end up being scrapped or thrown on a landfill. And there's something nice about buying a good solid Craftsman wood planer or something to put in your workshop that may be 20 years old, but those things don't wear out. They don't make them to wear out back then, and they may need a new blade, but it's kind of nice to keep some of this stuff going because it's well made. A lot of the stuff that they sell, I'm in the market now for a welding machine. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and you're right. It is dangerous, and I probably will electrocute myself, but I still want one. And there are a plethora of them. I mean, you're knee deep in welding machines. I just haven't found one that has the right mixture of newness and price yet, but I will if you keep looking. Items are often sold as is. That means that they'll tell you, like, plugs in, light turns on, which tells you that the indicator light works. That's all it tells you. Assume that it doesn't work, especially an electronic device. So just be careful. Understand that almost always, well, not almost always, oftentimes when they show you a picture on an auction site, it's a picture that they've taken from the internet of that device when it was new, an advertising picture. They're good about doing this with things like microscopes. They're not oftentimes not showing you the actual microscope. Ask them to, and they usually will. Just be, if it looks brand new and it's selling for $5, it probably isn't. If the auction is in your area, they do allow you to inspect lots before you bid on them, but you have to make an appointment. It's another pain in the rear to do. But yeah, if you're thinking of spending a lot of money, it might be a good idea to go inspect it. If you were buying a car, for example, I would definitely not buy it without inspecting it. So there's oftentimes no information. If you're going to buy a lens on eBay, you'll call the seller and you'll ask for pictures. You'll ask them to describe the front and the rear elements. Does it have lens caps? Is it in the box? Tell me all about it. None of that. There will be the picture and a description that will usually be the title, and that's it. No other information. You have to look at it and see what it is from the picture and the description and the title, and just cross your fingers, because they frequently will not give you information, and you have to assume that the information they do give you may be not inaccurate. Remember, a lot of the times these are not specialists who are selling their beloved rock polishing device. They are employees of the university who have been told to get this crap out of the warehouse. So that's how much investment they may have in getting information to you. So be careful. This takes time. It doesn't take as much time, and it's not miserable time. Every time Robert calls me to say, you should look at this thing, I'm all over it, because I think it's very exciting. I happen to enjoy the hunt, but I always have, ever since I discovered thrift shops. And this is a lot like going to the biggest thrift shop in the world when you're specifically looking for something, and it's oftentimes really thrilling to find it. I have bid on a lot of things that I have not won. That's the other part of it. Sometimes it seems that you're the only person who's looking at that site. Nobody bids on it. Nobody's following it. Nobody's watching it. And they're the perfect ones. But I would still, just because it seems like nobody's paying attention to that auction, I would still put a sizable bid, the most amount of money you would be willing to pay if somebody shows up to bid against you at the last minute, if you want something badly enough. If it's something that you've been searching for 3 years, like the microscope, I bid every penny that I could afford that I would spend on it. I didn't need to spend it, of course, because of the auto bid feature, but that's what you need to do. If there is no auto bid, do not bid the maximum amount right away, because that just raises the bid to your maximum amount, and any bid above it and you're out. And people will know that if there's a sudden high bid. So use the auto bid feature. It's the most certain way to protect yourself out there. Most important, and I said this earlier, set a budget and stick to it. Do not spend a penny. Just because there's an auction and it gets exciting, don't go over what you decided you were going to spend on it. That's what you decided by the light of day. Stick to it, and you'll be glad you did. Understand the codes that they use for conditions. Some of them use slightly misleading words like mint condition to mean only partially beaten to hell, or for parts means reduced to rubble. I mean, know what each auction house means when they say mint condition or like new. Yeah, like new garbage maybe, but it's not what you think. Used, reconditioned for parts only. These are all code words that the sites use differently, but they have to describe what they're talking about in their conditions. So just read this stuff the first time. If you're going to pick and ship, you need to learn about that before you bid. Don't bid on something thinking, well, I'll buy this, and if I win it, then I'll get a company to wrap it and ship it, because you could end up spending more on that than you did on the item. So these are my experiences with it. It sounds like I've been trying to talk you out of using them. On the contrary, I think if you're using them, you can save a lot of money and have a lot of fun. But just go into it with your eyes wide open, and don't expect this to be a full-service department store or an optical warehouse. You may well end up with a box of optical equipment that would cost thousands of dollars at Thor Labs, but you can't bank on it. You just have to look at what you can see and make the best assessment you can. Bid wisely. It's a very good idea. If you're interested in doing this, pick the sites you're probably going to stick with and register with them just now. Just register so that you've got a place to bid if something comes up. I have found stuff that had an hour left to bid, and I wasn't registered with that site, and I lost the opportunity to bid on it. So, because it takes a while, they often have to approve you and check that you haven't walked out on other auctions, that type of thing. So anyway, it's fun. I cannot wait to show you guys my microscope. It is a phase contrast research microscope that weighs about, I think they said it weighs 40 kilos, and I'll need somebody to help me lift it. It's big. It's quadrocular. It has 2 eyepieces and 2 camera ports. It's inverted. It's made for tissue culture, so you look into the scope here, but the specimen's up here. The light comes down from above, and the objectives are underneath. The scope has 4 Nikon objectives, expensive ones, that I don't think anybody else had noticed when in the description and in the photographs, but that was part of what I was bidding on. I paid less than the cheapest of those microscope objectives would cost used today for the whole thing, the whole microscope with 4 objectives. It has Weiss, Lights eyepieces. German eyepieces that are better than the Nikon ones that were in it, apparently. So, it's all good. I can't wait to get it. I'm getting it on Friday, so we'll see. It may yet be a lemon, but I'll probably get $200 worth of useful parts out of it. If only one of the objectives is any good, I could probably get the $200 back. So, it can be exciting. There are not many places, not many situations in which you can get a bargain on anything these days. It seems that everything's got so absurdly expensive. Look, somebody's put government deals, 5 pieces, microscopes and optical laboratory apparatus. I wonder what the bidding is on that, Amy. Do you know? These are always fun when they sell boxes of equipment, because they can have some really cool stuff. Nikon Eclipse TE300 inverted microscope with accessories. I think I'm going to go over there and see what they're bidding on that. $50, and oh my goodness, you need to see this. So this is government deals. They have a TE300 inverted microscope. That's that, with all the accessories. That's presumably this. This is the power supply, the light source. $50, and the reserve has been met, and it's in Pittsburgh. Is Mr. Rechtenwald on the live stream tonight? How far of a drive is that if I buy this? This would be nice to have as a backup, wouldn't it? That's a nice microscope. It's a tissue culture microscope like mine. It's a newer version of mine, actually. Oh, wow. There you go. A 20 and a 40. 100 probably. What is it? A 10. Oh, look at that. That's a nice one. So, there's a good example. That's got 5 objectives on it. $50. As soon as I get off the thing and post that video, I'm gonna bid on this. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's an eyepiece. So, if the bidding suddenly goes through the roof on this, I'll know it's all you. Look at all those accessories. That's probably $100 worth of parts right there. How far away is Pennsylvania from here? Too far, I think. Too far. All right. That's it, guys. We are out of time. I hope this was of some use to you. I mean, I really think it's worth exploring if you haven't. I'll read the chat as I always do. I get to it a little bit late, but I will read the chat and see what you guys have said, and see if there's any recommendations or requests as well. Try finding a desktop autoclave. Yes, I saw one on Saturday, Joseph. A nice one, actually. That's under medical supplies, though. An autoclave. BH2 RFCA microscope, 110 on Gov Deals. That's not bad. Jet or Delta. Yeah, no, I think of all of them, Joseph. I just, it's hard when you're talking to people and you can't stop talking. Don't forget to give Alan a thumbs up, Laura says, and she should know. She's the boss. Give a thumbs up, and I'd appreciate it. Let me see. Astrahori. Is it possible to set up ChatGPT? We talked about that. Zeno, did you find out if that was possible? I would love to know. I bet there is a way to do it. Okay, I think we are about done. Zeno's wife vetoed the idea of him getting a free electron microscope. Your wife is a smart woman, sir. Okay, so now you know. I believe these things are worth it and fun, and I urge you to give it a try. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about microscopes. It'll be a little bit more serious, but if you're thinking about buying a stereo microscope or a compound microscope, if you're thinking about buying an AMScope or a German microscope or a Swiss microscope, if you're thinking new or used, if you have any of those questions, bring them on Thursday, because I'm gonna basically give you my experience in buying a microscope. It's taken me 5 years to buy this microscope. 2 microscopes, actually. So yeah, I've learned a lot about it, and I'll pass that on to you, and it'll be fun to talk about. I want to hear about your microscope horror stories too. Okay, guys, last thing, does anybody have a printing Nikkor 150 millimeters that they want to sell? Would you let me know? Have a great week, and I will see you on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Stay safe and be well.